Hi everybody, and welcome to the live Q&A session where there's a panel of us here from the University of Glasgow to answer any questions that you might have on any of our 3 postgraduate talk programmes. So today we're going to be talking about the MLitt in Theatre and Performance Practices, and we have YY here with us today, who is a student on that course. And we're going to be talking about the MLitt in Playwriting and Dramaturgy. And I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Cristina Delgado Garcia, and also Chris, who can speak about that programme. And also our 3rd MLitt programme in Theatre Studies, which, as we'll explain, is more of a portfolio programme with a number of different options that can be taken on that programme. So hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions about how that's going to work as well. So to introduce myself, I'm Professor Liz Tomlin. I am the convener of all 3 PGT programmes this year and also convening the Theatre and Performance Practices. I'm going to now, although I've introduced them briefly, I'm just going to hand over to my colleagues who can also say hello and a few lines about themselves if they'd like to. So I'll hand over to Cristina to begin with.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Cristina, and I am a lecturer in theatre and performances, as well as the convener of the Playwriting and Dramaturgy MLitt. And next year, I will also be convening the Theatre Studies MLitt. A little bit about the programme, or not yet, Liz? Shall we?
Yeah, why not? Go for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sure. So as Liz mentioned, the Theatre Studies MLitt is a portfolio-based programme, which means that there are 3 core courses, research methods, Scottish theatre, and the final summer independent research project. But the rest of the programme, you will get to pick and choose the courses that really respond to your interests and specialisms. I am also the convener of the Playwriting and Dramaturgy MLitt, and as the title suggests, is a programme that really will enable you to specialise in both these modalities of work, but you will be able to, if you want to, choose to specialise particularly in either dramaturgy or playwriting. And I'm going to pass over maybe to the students who are with us.
And I jump in. I could jump in and just, as you've introduced the other 2 programmes, I'll say a little bit about theatre and performance practices, and then people have that information. So as Christina's already introduced you to Theatre Studies and Playwriting and Dramaturgy, the 3rd PGT programme we can talk to today is Theatre and Performance Practices. And that's really a theatre making programme. You will still do some of the core courses, such as research methods, along with other students, but there's a large part of the course is about really making your own work and finding who you are as a theatre maker, and in a particularly in a contemporary context. And so there are courses that really direct you towards thinking in detail about that work. And then when it comes to your big summer project, which YY is just at the beginning of at the moment, you then have the opportunity to kind of make a final piece of work for your practice as research project. And we can talk a little bit more about that in a short while. So that's a very brief introduction to the 3 programmes. The links are obviously going up on the screen, and there's much more detail on the course pages. If you've had a chance to have a look at those, that's great. You can ask us anything you would like in addition to that, or anything else that you'd like to know. I should just mention the options. There's lists of different courses, because in all of these courses you can take options alongside the core courses. These are indicative at the moment. We're busy confirming these for next year as we speak. So that should be updated very soon on the website. There won't be massive changes, but there may be 2 or 3 that are slightly different to how they look at the moment. So do make sure to check back on those in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm going to pass over to YY now, if you want to say hi, YY, and any thoughts you have to start off with.
Hi everyone, my name is Yu Yifan and I'm from China. You can also just call me YY. I'm currently studying theatre performance practice. And as what Liz said, our course have many opportunities to do the practice, like for example, in the independent practice model, we get to create different workspace on our own ideas. So I believe this program is a great fit for directors, actors, or writers who are already coming with some creative concepts they want to explore. Yeah.
Thank you. That's lovely. Just before passing over to Chris, and just while we're speaking about the theatre and performance practices, there's a question I've noticed from Tan Whiting. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Hi, really great to have you with us. And Tan Whiting is asking, are there opportunities to learn directing in theatre? And how practical based is the programme? And is it necessary to perform or act too in the programme? So I can take that last one first because it's easiest. It isn't necessary to perform or act in the programme. You can choose to have a role that's more about directing or working with other actors and performers. But there are opportunities to do that if you would like to do that. So that really is an option. To say how, if there are opportunities to learn directing, I think it probably means what you learn by directing. We don't teach directing as such, but you will be mentored in making work. You will be mentored in thinking through making your pieces of theatre. That might include some instruction on thinking about staging and working with actors and other things that directors need to think about. But it's more really of an artistic mentor role rather than a kind of training program, if that makes sense. To answer the third question, it's very practically based. There's really, there's critical elements to the practice. So we ask you to think about the research that's involved in the practice that you're doing. We ask you to write critical reflections on some of that practice and a research trail about the research that you're undertaking. But there's probably at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of the programme will take place in the studio, and we'll be working practically with other students, the tutors, and also the tech support. So I don't know, why if you wanted anything to add to that before we move over and hear a little bit about playwriting.
What I want to say is, we don't, as you said, we don't teach how to directing, but we do gain a lot of opportunities to have our own place on the stage. So we will have this process, although we don't learn it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So any further questions or any follow-up on that from Tan Waiting or anybody else who's listening, please do drop those in the chat. I just want to move over to hear a little bit more about playwriting and dramaturgy. So I shall pass over to Chris, who can either just introduce himself or say whatever he'd like to think about the course. Oh, Chris, are you on mute? We can't hear you. No, we'll just give Chris a moment to.
Okay, there we go.
He's okay. He's back. Fantastic.
Am I lagging? Sorry. So I'm Chris. I've been doing the playwriting and dramaturgy course. As Cristina said, very specialised. There's the option for a playwriting branch in semester 1 and semester 2, and there is, as a core course, dramaturgy semester 1 and semester 2 as well. And I think that is what drew me to the course, certainly, knowing that it seemed very specialised. And then the one optional module that was quite nice, the broad range. Again, the link is on the chat, I think, but there's a really broad range of optional courses. And because the playwriting and dramaturgy course is so curated, I suppose, I feel like the single optional module that you get benefits from the insights you gain from those modules. Is what I'd say. Yeah, for me personally.
Thanks, Chris. Did you have anything to add to that, Cristina?
No, I was just going to ask for a little bit more detail, if that's okay. I know that there's a question about practical work partnerships or internships. So we will maybe, I know Chris has has perhaps some experience about this. So maybe you would like to answer that.
Yeah.
I hope that your connection stays stable.
Yeah. So talking about the optional courses, I took one called Applied. I think the module's just called Applied Theatre, and the university is a partnership outside of the city. And through that module and working with the tutor, Catherine Evans, the opportunity came up for an internship working with their community engagement team, which is called the Participate team. And so for the last 3-4 weeks and up until mid-June, I have been and will be working with certain projects, which has been incredible. Yesterday, I kind of had a catch up with the tutor, Catherine, and how it was going. And for the module itself, I recommend that enough because I heavily enjoyed it, but also beneficial to myself in terms of my development, in terms of meeting professionals, confidence building genuinely as well. And also I feel like the learning I've done throughout the year, that way it all just kind of clicked into place while I've been on placement. And I think the Opportunities Hub, it's called, for placements and internships on the website. That is pretty regularly updated, I want to say. And there are a lot of placements and internships that are listed specifically for, I think, either fourth year or postgraduate students. Yeah, I think that's the link there on the chat. So I know 2 other people who have done internships as well and had positive experiences. And I think, am I right in saying that all 3 of the cohorts, Playwriting, Dramaturgy, Theatre Performance Practice, and Theatre Studies, all have the option to do an academic placement as a module?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I hope people are managing to hear Chris okay. And I apologise, we've got a little bit of trouble with the signal, but I think that was clear enough. But just to quickly summarise, in case any of that was lost for people, Chris was talking about a new project that we've just run this year and will be running again next year. It's initially a 2-year project, so it will definitely be running next year with the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow, and it's a course on applied theatre, so looking at the idea of theatre in an applied setting, particularly in relation to some of the work that they do at the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow. And as Chris was explaining, the students of ours who take the course on applied theatre are also able to have a placement that follows on from that course as their work placement. Because of the trickiness of the timetabling that we have across the 3 programmes, the theatre and performance practice students are able to take the course, but they're not able to take the course and the work placement as things stand at the moment, just simply because they have a significant amount of practical courses that are their core options. And so theatre and performance practice students are only able to take either one optional course or a work placement. So unfortunately, the way things stand at the moment, they could do either or. Playwriting and dramaturgy students and theatre studies students are able to take both of those options if they wish to do so. There are also a number of other work placements in various different organisations across Glasgow that generally with theatre and cultural opportunities. So I think everybody manages to get placed. So yes, Michaela, in answer to your question, there are opportunities for these across all 3 programmes, and how you would get involved would be simply to register on that course or to put your name down for that. and whoever the convener for the work placements is in that academic year will then get in touch with you and begin to plan what you might want to do. They'll then have a look at who our kind of current partners are, people we've worked with before, or reach out to new people if that's required by the kinds of work you want to do. And then they'll feed back to you on the places they've managed to open up, and basically work as a kind of matchmaker to make sure that you're placed somewhere that's going to work for you and for the organisation themselves. I don't know if you wanted to add anything there, Cristina, to that?
No, just to summarize, because there's a lot of information and I'm mindful of this. So there is the placements course, which all students across all 3 programs can take. Then there's the applied theatre course that we're currently developing with the Citizen Theatre, which includes some internship or internship sort of like opportunities. And then as Chris mentioned, there are opportunities to do partnerships with other partners that are organised across the school as well through our partnerships sort of colleagues. So there are several opportunities. There's several ways that we could do this, sometimes for credit and some other times not.
No, that's really clear. Thank you for that. Why did you have anything to say about, have you been on your work placement this year yet?
Yeah, I'm now working on it, and I'm cooperate with playwright, and I'm reading his script and have met with him online and try to help him to rewrite some parts and set the story structure, sounds like that. Yeah,
brilliant. That sounds great. That's exciting. Good, lovely.
And I was going to say that even though it's not directly a sort of partnership or internship in that sense, I'm thinking about the question that Michaela presented in terms of opportunities for practical work. And I'm thinking, for example, about the Playwriting to Script Development Workshop, which is conducted with a professional director and with professional actors, and an event that we have coming up as a follow-up to that, which is on the 26th of June at the Gilmore Hill Theatre in Glasgow. But I think I'm going to pass on to Chris. Let's hope that your connection still stays stable, and if not, we'll try to summarize a little bit. But yeah, if you can talk a little bit about this opportunity to work with professionals, crossing fingers, for your for playwriting too, that would be great.
Is a very independent module. You have, I believe, we had 3 sessions with our tutor, who is always a professional playwright, working playwright, and a script editor, a mentor, as you write a full-length play from the start of the semester. And about 3 months into the module, Cristina, is that about right?
Yeah, week 11.
Yeah, so about 3 months in. Yes. So towards the end of the module, when in theory you've had a lot of time to work on your play, we submit a draft that's going to be worked on, and then we had 2 days in Gilmore Hill in the theatre space with our cohort, the 5 of us, all the playwriting students, with director Philip Howard, our tutor Linda Radley, and then a cohort of professional actors. And we went through, we individually got, I think we more or less all kind of got half a day each to work on our way through. Work with the actors and directors to ask questions of our play that would be asked in a professional industry setting, to just work the play's way. I was advance. I think we all were, knowing that we're going into a room of professionals and our work would be read aloud. But we all found it very beneficial. Because it was such a, like everything throughout the last year, it was a very supportive environment. It was the goal for every question, every word said in that room was develop us. There was no just criticism for criticism's sake, which I think you always just worry when you're sharing your work. Imagine YY potentially feels the same. The TPP students, they share a lot of their work, and I think that's always a daunting thing. But I don't think there's ever been a point where I've had a negative experience with that. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why whether you would like to answer to that, but if not, I can wrap up a little bit what Chris was saying for the benefit of those who perhaps missed a little bit with the connection.
Please.
Would you like me to do that? Sure. So yeah, like I was just thinking about that question about, I guess, like students going out through a placement to a professional setting and learning in that space. But also the reverse also happens. So as Chris was explaining, sometimes the professionals come to us and come into our spaces. So in the case of Playwriting 2, we have a mentor who supports the students, like literally like reading their drafts as they are writing their first full-length plays with us and giving, you know, like industry level feedback and notes for development, which is an extraordinary supportive thing. But then also we get those actors, Philip Howard as a professional director, who, as Chris said, like work really closely, do a read through, ask questions that will help the students really refine their writing and really get a sense of, you know, how a professional actor would actually perform their work and how much that changes, you know, from what you may have been imagining in your head as you were writing. So yeah, it kind of works both ways. Sometimes you go into the partners and the industry, and sometimes the industry comes to us. Sometimes in that role of mentorship, which I know TPP also has. Sorry for the acronyms. Theatre and Performance Practice MLitt also have. And also, I guess, sorry, why?
I think we do have some opportunities to work with some mature artists, like they come to us, but because we don't learn like playwriting, so in most of the time they will show us what they are doing or what they practice, and just tell us and let us to maybe try their practice, because we treat performance as a practice. So most of the time it's more like sharing.
Yes,
because we do have many different tutor and different teacher in the same course. Yeah. So.
And I mean, I think the other thing worth mentioning is obviously why you're at the beginning of your practices research project at the moment. But what will happen over the course of the next 2 months is why will have, as all the theatre and performance practice students will have an artistic mentor, practicing artist, as well as an academic supervisor. And so both of those people together will support each of the TPP students as they begin work on their major project.
Yeah. What I want to add is I already met with my mentor. Name is Richard. And what is interesting is last semester I joined a volunteer, and he was the director of that show. So I had already met him before. So it's quite excellent. Yeah.
Excellent. That's great. We have artists who do regular work with us, and Richard's very much. I've forgotten his surname just off the top of my head. I know someone will be able
Richard
to.
Gregory.
Richard Gregory, thank you, from Quarantine.
From the theatre company Quarantine.
Yes. So that's been that's been great. So we've just got another question here. that might be, I mean, it's an interesting one because it's about asking if Hu Chuyan, so thank you for asking the question, who wants to ask if playwriting is very difficult for international students whose first language isn't English. So obviously we have YY with us, but YY isn't a playwriting student. So I wonder if Cristina, if you and Chris were able to maybe pick that up, because you must have spoken to students on the course. There are a number of international students who take playwriting. And then YY can maybe speak from her own experience as an international student, how she's found the different project. I think there are different challenges for students on these two different programs in relation to language. Cristina.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good question. So I guess important to preface the answer by saying that obviously there are language requirements that international students are expected to fulfill when they apply and when they have a successful application and an offer. So we would expect that you would have a fluency that enables you to write and to engage with the course meaningfully. I am myself, I am Spanish, as you may have noticed by my accent or with my name. So I fully understand some anxieties about, how does an international student manage in an English language setting? So I guess, as I said, the first thing is to say, well, we would expect you to, by the requirements that we set in terms of English language, we would expect you to be able to conduct the course. We have had students, international students, who have taken not just Playwriting 1, which is compulsory to all the students in the program, but also the more advanced Playwriting 2, which is optional. And they have managed to do very well, and indeed sort of bring traditions of playwriting or of writing that are different to perhaps what a student from Scotland might bring. But I think, I guess you must be reasonably confident in your ability to conduct postgraduate studies at England, and you will receive our support. So in addition to the notes of around playwriting that your tutor might give you, the university also has a dedicated student learning support sort of advisor advisor team for international students. So we always recommend that students whose language is not English and who feel first language is not English and who feel they might benefit from it, to really make the most of that language support or even academic support coming from a different background. So the answer, I guess, it's you need to assess yourself your capacity to write in a second language and to engage with that with that level of work, knowing that there is support available within the university, both from your tutor in playwriting as well as more language directed teams. I don't know if that feels like a right answer. Chris, obviously you're a native speaker, but you will have perhaps experience of seeing a diverse range of students creating work in Playwriting 1. If you feel like you can't answer, please don't feel like you have to. YY can perhaps explain her experience.
I would Playwriting 1. I think in Playwriting 2 we were all native English speakers, but in Playwriting 1 it was a very diverse pool of students, and a lot of playwriting. The structure of Playwriting 1 is you're given a play, 2 plays to read over the week, and then the first hour or so of the class is structured around a group discussion of what. There was never really a point throughout Playwriting 1 where I felt that there was no one contributing. We were getting the way that the course was structured. no one raised it with me, so I don't know if I can. There may have been difficulties that I'm not.
But it's good to hear that you felt that there was a full engagement among the team. Why? Is there anything that any thoughts you'd like to share as someone on a different kind of program?
I do have some friends, obviously Chinese, who attend the playwriting course, and because we do have some same course, so we have some discussion about that. As what Chris said, our mentor or teacher who will give this class, they will send their PowerPoint or script a week before, so you can prepare. That won't be that difficult. And as what Cristina said, we do have the students support your academic writing, and I do attend several myself. And you can book one-to-one writing support, or it also has the online course. So I think it won't be a big problem with your English writing, because we all pass the IELTS test, Yeah.
We have a really interesting question. I think that might be one for you, Liz, and from YY. It says, what's the demographic of students in the programs like? Have there been any cultural differences that affect the nuances of work that needs to be worked through? And the applicant is thinking of applying to TPP.
Yeah, lovely question. Thank you. I mean, we have I find that the theatre and performance practices has always, or certainly for the past few years when I've been working with it, been a very balanced and rich diversity of people on the programme. It does change from year to year, but for most years, we might have around kind of 10 to 15 students on average. And within that cohort on TPP, there'll usually be a similar number of students from China, with students from Scotland and the rest of the UK. And then there will be another maybe third of that group who may come from other parts of Europe, North America, and other parts sometimes also of East Asia. We've had a number of students from Asia more widely before. So it really is mixed, and I think that there's no culture that dominates, and I don't think we've ever had a group where the group's been dominated by either home students or students from anywhere else. It's always felt like a really nice mix. And I do think in terms of it's an interesting question, the cultural differences that need to be worked through. I think the mix of cultures has been really enriching, certainly from my perspective, looking at the work. It really enriches the work. In the first semester, the students all get to work in small groups on the contemporary devising practices. And so students will mix within that course and make group devised performances in that course, and a chance to really get to know each other. And sometimes there are specifically from people's cultures, whether that's ideas or politics or stories. Sometimes it's skills, particular ways of working, acting, moving, performance. And then obviously in the independent performance project and the IPs, then people have an opportunity to really explore either their own culture or explore how their culture clashes with the culture that they're working in, or questions that arise from that, or really any questions that they want to do. We have a Chinese student with us this year, who I will know, who's been really influenced by European mime and European mime performance, and that's been something that he's really discovered and embraced and really been excited about moving forwards with. We have another student who is Georgian in origin, and she's made work that's specifically about her relationship with a homeland that she is no longer able to live in, and bringing in traditional Georgian dance and Georgian music. So really it's open to bring cultural influences with you, to learn new cultural influences, to work with ways of clashing those cultural influences. I don't know, why have you got anything you would like to add? Because you've been working across a whole range of things this year, haven't you?
Yeah, our Yeah, because this year we have 9 students in our program. I do work with each of them. Yeah, we got you because we have many opportunities to devise together. So as what you said, the Chinese student who do the physical theater is my friend Yilong, right? He do the comedy, and we will like cooperate in our practice as project, which is our final work. And I also work with C. She is English, I think.
I
Maybe
think
not.
so, yes. I'm not completely sure either, but I think she is, yes.
But I remember because at the first class, Graham asked us to consider the stage as a world map and ask where we are come from, like where our parents come from. So I remember Cis has both the in India and the Greece. I'm not sure, but our background in our program is quite complex. So we can have some different taste of the different culture. And it's the most enjoyable part for me. I do like work with different with students who come from different culture. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Just a brief note, if I can, because just, for precision, because the question was asked in particular about TPP, but also they mentioned the other programs. Yes. Just to say that the reflection that Liz made about more or less like the distribution of where our students come from is pretty much very similar to playwriting and dramaturgy and theatre studies. So you can get a mix of home students from Scotland or the rest of the UK. You get some Chinese, American from other places in Europe. And as Liz said, it really benefits even in a course that I teach, which is on contemporary British playwriting, really, really benefits from those external points of view, different cultural approaches to the same text. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's something that we welcome and that we all benefit from. I think both our students, our students and us, wherever they come from. And we have more questions.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll quickly pick up the dissertation topic question. And basically, somebody's asking when you usually decide on the dissertation topic and should they start thinking about it or doing any prep before the course starts. So some people come with a really clear idea in mind of what they want to do and follow that through the programme. Some people come with a really clear idea and then change and go, I'm going to change completely, do something completely different. And some people come with no idea and just spend the first semester at least just exploring and experimenting and reading. And then in the second semester, you're encouraged to start thinking about that, but you don't need to make a firm decision on that until around March, April time, when we ask you to put a proposal together. So, it really does depend. If it's something that there's a project you really want to do, then there's no harm in doing prep before the course starts, but there's no expectation of that. And sometimes it's beneficial to at least keep those doors open to see what influences and interests you as you're going along. That seems to segue nicely into a question that Ginny Adams is asking. Why and Chris? If Chris, you'd like to take this up first, perhaps. What are you doing for your final project, and when during the course did you decide this was an area that you wanted to explore?
A dissertation exploring, still working it out in some ways, but exploring relationship between performance and the changes that it's been through. I settled on that topic, this framing of it, probably two. I knew early on in the course that, I've always had an interest in the Clyde, and early on in the course I started logical performance and broadening.
Sorry, Chris, I think we're losing you. Christina, could you speak?
I can summarize. Yeah.
We can't hear that. I'm sorry, Chris. I think
Chris,
Christina
I'm
might
so
be able to help
sorry.
you out.
I'm so sorry. And I'm going to speak about your topic from memory of having reading your proposal. So please forgive me if it's not exactly right. But what I remember is that Chris has been interested in thinking about the River Clyde in Glasgow in connection to ecological performance. So although Chris has benefited from doing Playwriting 2 and the Applied Theatre course and the placement in connection to it, he's gone for a traditional dissertation. So he's going to write a 15,000 word. I'm looking at you like you are going to write it. 15,000 word dissertation on ecological performance in connection to the River Clyde here in Glasgow. And why?
Yeah. So your project.
Final project.
Yeah, I'm working on the topic, which is still immersive theater, because I do like it. And before I took part in this course, I enjoyed the Punch Drunk's walk, Sleep No More in China, Shanghai, a city, and I went there for like 3 times and 4 times and do spend a lot of money on it. So I just want to know why this is so attractive. So before I started this course, I already made a decision that I want to explore this topic or this kind of theater. And what I will do is write the script by myself and try to have a play on stage, and like what I just said, cooperate with my classmates, and we will have, I wish it's immersive, have a show on the stage, and which is my final work. Yeah.
Great. Lovely.
Yeah,
Thank you. Christina, could I ask you if you could answer Ginny's second question, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
About playwriting.
Yes, so Ginny asks, if you do not undertake Playwriting 2, but you want to write a play for your final project, will you have support from a playwright/dramaturg, or is it just available in Playwriting 2? So that's a really good question, and I think it depends a little bit on the circumstances. So we try to allocate research projects, whether that might be a play or like through a research-based play, or a traditional dissertation. We try to allocate the supervisors according to expertise whenever possible, which is most of the time. And I guess like in that line, it's important to say that some of our staff are playwrights, some of our staff have professional and ongoing dramaturgical and playwriting practices. So in that regard, like you might not get a mentor, an outsider mentor for your final project, but you might get a member of staff who has that kind of expertise. Occasionally, we have been in a position where we have been able to invite a playwright. This is the case this year, who's going to be tutoring, but it's a different relationship because Playwriting 2 gives you the skills to write a play, like a really supported environment in which to write a play. But here we are not concerned with research. The final project that you will do for the summer has to do with research. So in a way, whoever is supporting that project is not just concerned whether what you write works as a play, but rather also ensuring that it's that the play is the means through which you are conducting research. And in that sense, it's better placed, I guess, as a supervisor, somebody who has that practice research sort of like expertise, which tends to be a member of staff or potentially a practitioner/researcher. So I don't know if that more or less fits in, Liz.
Yeah, that's like my understanding of it as well. I think that we obviously thinking through if you're looking to really work your playwriting practice through the IRPs, we would probably advise you to do playwriting too. But as Cristina says, that it will depend on the circumstances, and we'll do what we can to support through that.
And I think really important to note that if you wanted to write a play for your final project, again, just like the practice that the students in TPP do is conceived as practice as research. There's a research component, there's a research critical engagement that they will also need to demonstrate through a kind of like critical reflection part. The same will happen with the final project for the playwrights. So if you wanted to write a play, it is still research. You still need to frame it and understand it as contributing some new knowledge to whatever, in answer to whatever research question you're pursuing. So whoever wants to write a play for the final project, my advice might be do take playwriting too, because that will help you consolidate that skill. But also, if you didn't take playwriting too, just really make sure you do have that skill, that's a skill you don't need to gain through the program, but that you already have and will help you to succeed in that final project. Oh, I really enjoyed Tan Wei Ting's comment. That's lovely. I'm from Singapore. Looking forward to applying. That's lovely.
We've got a very good track record with students from Singapore, so it'll be lovely to have
we have somebody else joining from Kenya. This is wonderful. It's so lovely to know that people are connecting from so far from Glasgow. It's a pleasure listening to experienced personnel. That's lovely. I don't know if there are any more questions.
Are there any more questions out there? Because we're sort of coming to an end now. So do get your question in. If there's anything that you're really wanting to ask, please drop that in the chat. Otherwise, I think we can maybe just end with a brief reflection from each of our students. And if you have a question while they're doing that Cristina or I or either of them can answer quickly at the end, we can do that. But otherwise, I think maybe just perhaps starting with YY, is there anything that you would say has been your highlight of the course? Is there a particular moment or course or performance thing that you'll remember standing out for you?
I think I will still mention our course, which is independent practice, because it's actually, I think, is a highlight of the whole studying process for me. Not only the what I'm working on, but we do have a discussion after our work. Like we have discussion with our teacher and also classmates, and each of us will give other advice and suggestions. And this part you can see students from different backgrounds, different culture, they will have different perspective. And after that, we do have the one-to-one tutorial with professor, and that part is also interesting. So I think this course might be the highlight for me. Cool. What about you?
Lovely. And Chris?
Yeah, it's a really tough question, like what my favorite, because it's been a well-rounded year, I think. I'm live theatre, partly because I got the internship opportunity, but I think because it was optional, it wasn't part of the overall course. Like it just really influenced how I saw everything else, fully reframed my thinking and my writing. And again, in your course, how you got to see a diverse range of class, even though there were only about 8 of us. Applied theatre having people talk about applied theatre from lots of different backgrounds was just so interesting.
Great.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to sit all there.
Thank you. That's great. I'm sorry you've been having such trouble with your signal. Thank you so much for persevering with that. Really appreciate it. So the kind of the applied theatre was the highlight from Chris, and the IP project was the highlight there from YY. So do have a look at the links that are there in the chat that you can go onto for more information about the 3 courses. There's also information on there about, we've got one final question. So I'll just quickly see if we can sneak that one in. The Dramaturgy MLitt, the average teaching hours per week would vary between modules. I think we had this question, is it about 3 sessions a week, Cristina, on average?
It's about 3 sessions a week in either term. And each of those sessions might be between 2 and 3 hours. But of course, it does depend in connection to what modules you choose. If you choose the placement, then that kind of changes things a little bit. But yeah, imagine you have 3 courses per term of the top courses. And then each of those might be between 2 and 3 hours of contact time. Obviously, you will need to do prep time outside of those scheduled hours.
Thank you. And just a final question there as well from Shahira, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hi, who's done a master's in direction from India, and you're asking how hard or different would it be for the person to complete your MLitt? I think one of the responses, I had another question on directing slightly earlier, and I think just to kind of reiterate that, really, obviously directing is a very big it's a big area, and there's lots of different approaches to directing. It would certainly be very possible and exciting for us to have someone who's done a master's in directing on the programme. I'm sort of assuming that you're talking about the Theatre and Performance Practices programme. So from that point of view, really, I would say the only thing to be aware of is that it is a theatre making, which is a slightly different emphasis than a master's in direction. It's really about creating your own work rather than necessarily directing text or directing big casts of actors. So without knowing the details of the specific masters you've done, it's difficult to know what differences there might be. But you know, if you want to drop an email, I was just saying before the final questions came up, there are contacts on our pages about the programmes of people to contact about that. So please do get in touch, and you'll be able to, probably be me that would come to. You'll be able to give me some more details about the course that you've done, or any particular concerns that you might have or questions that you might have about the course. But just from that information, I would say, you know, it would be a great opportunity to bring those skills into a space with other people from very different backgrounds and skill sets who are making their own independent practice. So really just to extend that invitation to everyone. It's been lovely. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Thank you so much to Cristina and Chris and YY for being on the panel and speaking so well about the programmes that we're offering here. Do please get in touch if you haven't been able to ask a question or think of something later. Then just contact us and we will do our best to give you all the information you need. It'd be lovely to see some of you here with us next year. Chris did confess just before we did this that he watched this last year and then he was with us after that, which is great to hear. So it'd be lovely to see some of you with us next year or sometime in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.